Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to have a very, very, very interesting discussion today. And the topical area is going to focus on a couple of things. We've got elements of astroturfing, we've got elements of toxic positivity, and of course, the main one that I've personally been accused of very frequently over the past couple of hours, doom posting. And boy, oh boy, is this going to be a fun discussion for us to have today, because I recently uploaded a video, you're all probably aware of it by now, where I expressed, literally, my honest thoughts about Wuthering Waves version 2.7. And as you can see over here, this video has gotten a significant number of dislikes. But the good news that I have to share is, I do think that it's actually overstating the number of dislikes that are actually on the video. Maybe it's understating. Let's just go ahead and take a look at the actual numbers ourselves. Yeah, it's overstating them by about 30. So the video doesn't actually have as diabolical of a dislike ratio as many might have actually thought. It's sitting at a pretty okay 80%, because this is the reality over here. I just straight up call it mid in the thumbnail. This is a kind of inflammatory thumbnail. Many could say that. I agree with that take. But there are very many things in the patch that I'm not personally very happy with, right? And the thing is, a lot of people have been going ahead, taking some of the critiques that I've made about the patch, and of course, mistranslating it, spreading misinformation, and applying it to, situations where it clearly doesn't apply. Here's one example over here of exactly that. All right, so here we've got my reaction to the live stream, right? And here's one of the top upvoted comments. This is why I'm talking about astroturfers. Saint in Hoyoverse streams. Wow, they spoil everything in the Genshin Impact HSR ZZZ story. So bad, Hoyo. Saint in WuWa streams. Wow, they didn't show anything. So bad, Kuro. You can see over there, has quite a number of likes on the post. But the funny thing is, from the video itself, I think that some of the events that they're not announcing are probably also based off of story spoilers, which, happens kind of often, right? So I think we just gotta wait and see to see what some more of the future announcements are, because it seems like there is content, they're keeping it hidden. Because so people have decided to go ahead, and because I said I didn't like the number of events in the patch, with there being, let me just show you all firsthand how many events there are. That's 2 login events. Lolo campaign is basically a login event, and then 3 other events in the patch. That is the current announced lineup. 3 effective login events, and then vampire survivors, and then 2 random casual parkour photo events. That is the lineup for a 42-day patch, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. And so when I went ahead and said, oh, the number of updates over here doesn't look that great, people are going ahead and just actively spreading some misinformation. Because, of course, that's the fun thing to do to the number 1. Sorry, I'm the number 5 now. I actually got demoted to the number 5 Curlbot. And so you can just go ahead. Clearly, there are some joke comments in here and stuff like that. But we got even more. And these are all getting highly upvoted as well. And the thing is, a lot of these individuals are longtime commenters on the channel. Some of them have left even hundreds. But I'm not afraid to call these individuals out and tell them when they're acting like absolute idiots. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first example over here. Here we go again, like CC's daily doom posting. Like they said, the 2.5 livestream is mid, but it became the best written story in 2.x. Just wait for 2.7, man. Y'all want the devs to spoil all the plot in a livestream. Imagine doom posting in an unreleased patch. Ladies and gentlemen, the main reason, like we've already reiterated before, for why we think the 2.7 patch is disappointing is because, again, there's 3 actual fucking events. And this is the funny, crazy thing about it as well. We literally have a track record of experiencing patches that don't have that many great combat events. We just came off a 2.6, where there wasn't a combat event. Yes, there were a lot of other events, but half of them took about 3 seconds to do, so they don't really count as like fleshed out events, and there wasn't a combat one in 2.6 at all. Then you look at version 2.5, right? And this is the one, right, where we said it's a great story. Y'all remember the second half of version 2.5? Oh, right. You don't, because there weren't any actual real fucking events that got added. There was a Dreaming Deep update, and some could say that could suffice as a combat event. But if you're somebody that, maybe got turned off from the game mode from its first initial release, that didn't really count for individuals either. So this would be, in a game like Wuthering Waves that is focused around combat, the 3rd patch in a row with no new added combat events. And this is the thing, ladies and gentlemen. A patch lasts about 42 days. That is close to, and going to be, from what we see, if there's no new events added, 120 days without a combat event in Wuthering Waves. Sorry, 2.5 was shorter. Maybe like 110 days. A third of the year with no combat events in the game. Oh my goodness. Hey guys, is stating that fact doom posting? Clearly it is if you are a fucking idiot. Has that realization set in? 110 plus days with no combat event in a combat-oriented game like Wuthering Waves. And this is the worst part about all of it. Kuro literally has a track record for having some of the best combat events in the genre. Just look at version 2.4, which, guys, that was about 100-something plus days ago. At this point, they had Banners Never Fall and Virtual Crisis all in the same patch. Y'all remember this one where you roamed around the city of Septimont and cleared a bunch of different challenges? They all had different modifiers, bunch of different enemies, great variety over here. And then, of course, Virtual Crisis, the second iteration of it. One of the favorite endgame modes from a lot of people because it doesn't have a time limit and all these other features that, you know, maybe drag some elements of the TOA or Whimpering Waste down for them, right? Lets you, you know, take an approach with whatever way you want to complete the challenge. That was in 2.4. And this is the thing, right? You could go back even further. You look at 2.1. They had Tactical Simulacra and then the Infinite Battle Simulation. Yes, you know, some people, they had an issue with this one because it was a little bit too hard. But at least it was combat events that they would put in so you can actually use the characters that you're potentially spending hundreds of dollars on. And the biggest sin of all, I'm just going to be real here, is the fact that they haven't reran this event yet. Although colors have no form. Y'all remember this one? This was the co-op hologram event, where you teamed up in a random party of 3, or you could go with friends and go tackle co-op hologram content. Oh wait, they did that in 2.0, and guess what, guys? They also did it in version 2.2. If you gaze into the abyss of dreams, yep, another co-op combat event. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not out here asking Kuro Games to, like, go ahead and invest thousands of hours in development time just to think of, like, game modes for these super selfish, super stupid, and super greedy players. We're asking them to rerun events that they've already had before that were super fun. This co-op event, all of these were some of the most fun that players have had in the history of the game. Yes, getting to use your characters, if you're willing, using your S6 characters, S6 R5, and then showing them off to your friends. It was quite literally, without a doubt, some of the best content that's been available. And people are just wondering where this amazing content is that they've experienced firsthand, that they love. Where has it been for 100-something plus days? And they feel awful knowing that all this great content is here, knowing that it's also not going to be there at all. And instead, you're just getting 3 fucking random-ass casual events and then Vampire Survivors. Is it becoming a little bit more clear now why some people might be disappointed in the 2.7 update? It should be, but this is the thing. Unfortunately, we have a lot of people conflating this, right? Yes, people are upset because events that they've loved before haven't reran in close to a third of the year for absolutely no decipherable reason. And then people are just conflating it as, oh my god, all these CCs don't like 2.7 because it didn't spoil the whole story in the live stream. No, people don't like 2.7 because it looks like a fucking content debt is being paid. It's like stuff is just being dangled away from us that has been played before, that has been positively received. It's not based off the story. Because just because a patch has a good story doesn't mean that it's going to be a good patch. And so for all the individuals, right, there are a lot of people that are saying, oh, you're being dumb right now. Why don't you just wait? Wait and see. Just wait until the patch is out. Why would I need to wait until the patch is out to know that the patch is going to be boring outside of the story when we literally have evidence from version 2.5 and 2.6 that yes, the patch is fucking boring after you're done with the story because there's nothing left to do in the patches? Why would you need to wait and see for another patch to do the same exact thing to also know that it's going to be boring after the story? You don't, because we literally got that front and center at 2.5. Does anyone remember their experience in the second half of 2.5? No, because there was nothing to do. What, Wuthering Exploration? Which is basically a login event because the mission is spend 100 wave plates and then get one of the 2 points you can get for the day? This is the thing. We're simply doing our service in the community as content creators and as players to point out where there's an issue. And one of the issues that I personally have in this situation is the fact that a lot of individuals kind of seem like, I don't really know, they're taking a very either mystical farming or like the approach that I've seen from some CCs covering the topic. It's a little bit questionable. So I'll talk about that as well, right? We've obviously got CCs like Captain Cabinets. They're farming the fuck out of the situation. It is what it is. You know, they're out here, they're like talking about, oh, you know, the community is upset. She's a story Andy, right? She likes the story. It is what it is for her. She's saying that she doesn't really care about, you know, what other stuff is missing in the patch. But this is the thing. This doesn't mean that just because you like the story and that you like the content of the patch, that there's no reason for other people to be upset. And this is the thing, right? She hasn't gone ahead, she hasn't made that take. But there are some other CCs that have. And one CC that I'm kind of, frankly, a little bit disappointed with is none other than good old Mr. Marco de Meatball. So let's go ahead, let's read this tweet over here. And this is the situation, right? He's responding to Captain Cabinets. She said, okay, so I'm hearing a lot of people are saying this was the worst live stream and patch reveal yet. Marco, in my opinion, I do think this is like a bit of a joke post. I don't really know. I think he's like intentionally rage baiting a little bit. It's pretty clear he's rage baiting. Let's read it. Now who's doom posting? Not me. People really felt 2.7 WuWa livestream was the worst. What, compared to every other one where they spoil the entire plot of the patch? So I think this is a really interesting take over here. I don't know what WuWa livestream has spoiled the entire story of the patch. I've never actually seen a WuWa livestream that's done that before, so that's why I assumed he was like joking or rage baiting, right? That's what I assumed. This is about to be dense as hell. Fake fans. How could you not put your trust in Kuro Games to deliver? Damn. So this is the thing. I don't really see a bit of an issue with this, right? I think he's actually cosplaying a Genshin Impact player and talking about how they spoiled the story in the patch. Not really an issue over here. But then we start getting some of the responses that Marco's making. And I'm not gonna lie here. He's making fun of Genshin players in his original post, but he literally sounds like one in this reply. The complaint about WuWa 2.7 is about the severe lack of content, not the story itself. And then Marco responds with, just go play other games. So, hey fellas, what community do you sound like when people make legitimate critiques about the patch, where they give the reasons for what's wrong with the patch and why they're not having that much fun with it? Instead of acknowledging their critiques and saying, yes, this could be better, you just tell them, go fuck yourself and go fuck yourself and play other games. I don't care that there's stuff in the patch that you think is missing. It has the stuff that I want. Go play other games. That's literally the Genshin Impact narrative. That is the toxic positivity narrative. I like what's in the patch. I don't care that you don't like it. Just go play something else. And this is the thing, right? Marco is not a hypocrite. That's one thing that I'll say. Because he's on the record saying he doesn't really give a fuck about the 2.6 update. He didn't like what was in it. And so he went to go play other games. So this is the thing. He practices what he preaches, but this kind of narrative is one of the most damaging, is one of the most toxic, and one of the most dangerous things that can happen to the community of a game. You are taking the critiques, deflecting them to the side, and saying, I find nothing wrong. I don't have any issues. So just go play something else instead. Stop talking about what you don't like. Just go play something else. Then how does the game improve? If you don't tell the developers, what's wrong with it? How does the game improve when you know Kuro Games is a company that responds to feedback quite often? And if you are telling us, hey, instead of giving the feedback, just go play other games instead, how does that do anything except make the game worse? That's Hoyoverse. That's the Hoyo Show community. That is a toxic positive mindset that has literally killed countless games or made them not playable or changed the target audience. If you don't like it, just quit. If you don't like it, just go play something else. Which is you know, it's both ironic, but also kind of true feedback to receive, right, from the guy who's openly said he's just not going to play versions. But this is also the other thing. Not everybody needs to act in the same way that Marco does. Not everybody wants to necessarily take the advice of just shut up and go play something else if you're not happy with it. Some people want to voice their concerns so that it can be better in the future and not be as bad as they currently perceive it to be right now. Here's another post by another WuWa CC echoing the same exact thoughts by Marco. There's dead-ass people that are angry about WuWa 2.7 having no combat events and saying the Vampire Survivors event will only be a few hours of gameplay. You guys do know that other games exist, right? Hey, fellas. What if Wuthering Waves had an update with absolutely no story at all? And this is the funny part. I know that Legion's Gaming, right, is a story enjoyer. Bro loves the story in Wuthering Waves. Kudos to him. Marco the Meatball is another story enjoyer, right? He intentionally didn't play 2.6 until later because the story didn't really click for him. What if there was an update, right, that had absolutely no story at all? No story progression at all. Nothing. Nada. It's just a bunch of combat events. And then these CCs, what do you think they'd probably say? I'm really disappointed in the 2.7 update because there wasn't really any additional story exposition at all. There was nothing in terms of the story. And they did that for 3 patches in a row. No story for 3 patches in a row. And then on the 3rd patch with no story in a row, these guys start complaining about the lack of story. And then we tell them, shut the fuck up and go play other games. Go play other games with plenty of stories. Go read a book. Stop bitching. Go read a book. Just flip the narrative, literally, and replace combat events with story. And you know none of these guys would act in the same in the way that they're acting right now. They wouldn't be saying the shit that they're saying right now. You already know. But this is the thing. Because they like the story, because the story is good in this patch, or it's slated to be good, and story's their favorite thing, stop complaining about the patch and go play something else. Why? Brother, it's... Again. 110 days with no combat event, and you're saying the people complaining after 100 plus days are being unreasonable and doom posting. This is crazy. Again, I just think this is a dangerous narrative for some of the bigger creators in the community to be expressing when people are just giving their very well-reasoned feedback for what is, without a doubt, event-wise, the worst update in the game. These are the worst events we've ever had. It's 3 logins, 2 casual events, and then a mini-game game mode. This is even worse than 2.5 from like an event count perspective. And once again, this is on the patch where the cover art of the patch looks like this. This is the cover art of the patch. So this is the unfortunate part about the situation. A lot of these individuals really have gotten it into their mind that as long as they like the story in the patch, who cares what's in the rest of it? Unfortunately, not everybody plays the game in the same way. If all people wanted was a story, they'd go read books or play visual novels, but instead they're playing Wuthering Waves. And to make the claim, once again, that we should just wait and see, after we've already waited and seen how dead patches like 2.5 and 2.6 are, following the fact that there's been no combat events in any of them, no replayability from the combat events as well, that's just dog shit advice too. And the unfortunate part is, I'm not really sure why, this part of the community has been really vocal recently. A lot of like these story enjoyers who, just because the story in the patch is good, they've started deflecting all critique about pretty much everything else regarding the game and the updates. And this is the thing, right? Yes, they're saying wait for a 3.0 patch, wait for a 2.8 patch, wait for a whatever patch. Why? Why do I need to wait for a patch for them to just rerun an event with some slight modifications that they've already made before? When the track record is there. When they've repeatedly... They ran this in 2.0, the co-op hologram event, and then ran it again in 2.2. Kuro, earlier on in the year, had literally set a standard. This was the peak of the game over here. 2.0 to 2.0 to 2.2. And a good part of that peak was due to the fact that they had some of the best events that have ever run in the history of the fucking game. And now they're just simply refusing to run them Nobody knows the reason why. And when people are raising their concerns about it, you're telling them to just sit down, shut up, wait for another patch, when that's what we've been doing for 100 plus days already. And it's a little bit rough, right? It's a bit of a situation, but this video is kind of like a PSA to the community. It's a PSA to the content creators roaming it. It's a PSA to those who, you know, are generally of the mindset that criticism towards Wuthering Waves 2.7 is like illegitimate or fake or bullshit or not like reasonable, because it all is. And I'll just be real with you. If you're somebody out here that's spreading the narrative, oh, CCs just want the story spoiled, oh, these CCs are just doom posting, there's only one thing I have to say to you. Go fuck yourself. So yeah, that'll be that for this one, ladies and gentlemen. I think we've done a thorough breakdown of why somebody would be upset with version 2.7, why all the complaints that I listed out are entirely 1,000,000% completely valid, and we provided all the proof, all the receipts, all the data, so that you know that's what's taking place. So yeah, let me know what you all thought about this one, ladies and gentlemen. Peace.